Hello everyone and welcome. The aim of this short narrated PowerPoint presentation is to help supervisors in primary care with their skills and tackle common misperceptions that often arise. These misperceptions have come up frequently since the North Central London Faculty of Educators started, and we wanted to debunk them for you quickly. Myth 1. You need to have a teaching qualification to be a supervisor in primary care. No, you just need to have done the appropriate supervisor training course. Many of you will have additional qualifications in teaching, and that's wonderful. Myth 2. You must be from the same professional background. No, and we'll explore the benefits and challenges in the current climate of interprofessional supervision. Myth 3. To be a good supervisor, you need to have all the answers. No, but we'll explore the skills you do have already and how you can develop them further. Myth 4. You must adapt to your learners or supervisee's style. No, but we're going to focus on what's more helpful, like learning approaches. As we've mentioned already, you don't need a teaching qualification to be a supervisor, and there's lots of useful information on the NCL Training Hub website about relevant courses that you can attend to become an approved educational supervisor, and also the next steps. We love this quote from Butterworth. Supervision is an exchange between any practicing professionals to enable the development of professional skills. Therefore, you do not need to be from the same professional background as your supervisee. However, I think it's helpful to take a pause and consider what the benefits and challenges are, and you can write them down in your workbook and pause for a moment. So what are the benefits and the challenges of interprofessional supervision? So hopefully your list looks similar to ours. You've jotted down the multiple benefits of interprofessional supervision. It can offer fresh perspectives, introduce new knowledge and skill sets, and challenge the assumptions that might creep into our daily practice. However, we're well aware there are challenges as well, which include a hierarchical structure, the nature of the places we work in, sometimes a lack of knowledge or understanding of pathways and requirements, and perhaps sometimes a lack of empathy for the challenges of new roles in primary care. There has been a huge shift in education from teachers, educators and supervisors being sages on stages and lecturing to being more learner or supervisee centred and facilitating learning, which is often done by asking questions, supporting our supervisees to be more self-regulated so they can find their own answers out. So you don't need to have all the answers and all the knowledge yourself. And you want to focus on what they are doing in practice. So have a look at this, the different levels that Biggs described. What sort of supervisor are you, and where might you feel most comfortable? And it's okay to use different levels at different stages, but hopefully with adult learners you can use far more level 3 learning. So let's consider for a moment what sort of skills and attributes you think you need to be a level 3 supervisor, someone who is facilitative. We'll let you pause and write your answers down in the box or in the workbook. And then you can unpause and we'll share the answers with you. So here's the list we came up with. It's more important that you're approachable, that you will listen, that you will help them clarify and coach and support and challenge, and that you can signpost them to find the answers and the resources they need, facilitating their learning, so you don't need to have all the answers yourself. How many of you have used learning styles questionnaires? Can you think which ones you used? And why did you use them? Did you use them just for yourself or for your supervisee too? And did you find them helpful? Here are some examples of learning style questionnaires that you might be familiar with, and we're aware that they can sometimes be really helpful for promoting self-awareness and considering alternative approaches to learning and teaching. However, despite their widespread use in medical education and in primary care education, there's no evidence base for their use, and they really don't account for the complexity of learning processes. Our learning styles are not fixed, and it can be more helpful instead to consider learning approaches. What methods and resources will help your supervisee to engage really deeply with what you are trying to communicate? So let's consider learning strategies and approaches by looking at this study of over 700 junior medical students. They fell into 4 different groups: active learners who use deep and surface approaches, collaborative learners who obviously focus on peer learning and the importance of social interactions and tend to use deep approaches. What about the next group, structured learners? They're very efficient. They look at planning and time management, but they tend to favour surface rather than deep learning. And I think the smaller passive group is probably fairly self-explanatory. So, thinking about the real world, which approach or which group do you think performs better? Yes, you're right. So students or supervisees who are more likely to be active or collaborative learners do better. So as supervisors, how can we adapt our supervision and our education and even our curriculum design to support these approaches? Do any of you do interprofessional supervision and debriefs jointly, or QIPs together in multi-professional teams, for example? We know this study isn't perfect and there may be caveats that you can come up with. For example, is this transferable to all learners and supervisees in primary care? It was also voluntary participation, so maybe more active and collaborative learners are overrepresented in these groups. And the results are also based on self-reported assessments. However, it really does get us thinking about what we can do as supervisors. So, today in this short session, we've been busting some myths and misperceptions about supervision in primary care, and we've covered the following: what the requirements are for you to be a supervisor, the skills and attributes you need and can develop to be a good supervisor who facilitates learning, got you to think about what sort of supervisor you are, explored the benefits and challenges to interprofessional supervision, and reflected on your use of learning styles questionnaires, and hopefully helped you refocus on learning approaches and strategies instead to enable active, deep and collaborative learning instead. So finally, before you leave us today and look at the further reading and resources, one of which includes a wonderful podcast with Dr. John Lorna on the benefits and challenges of interprofessional supervision and how you might actually do that, we'd like you first to think about: what did you learn today? What do you want to revisit or explore in more detail? And what will you do differently, even if it's a very small step in your supervision because of today's learning? Thank you for listening. And as mentioned, here are those further listening or reading resources.